You're listening to the Holistic Nootropics Podcast, your home for holistic, evidence-based cognitive enhancement strategies. And now your host, Eric Levi.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Holistic Nootropics Podcast, where we discuss using nootropics, biohacking, and nutrition to help you boost your cognition. My name is Eric, and we have an awesome show planned for you today with my awesome guest, Gagnon. Catherine is an emotional alchemist, mind-body healing practitioner, and master NLP transformational health coach who works with people who are tired of being tired and worried and helps them plug their energy leaks. She can hear, see, and feel the emotional and physical energy leaks in people and help them plug these leaks like a good emotional plumber would. As a result, her clients regain sustained physical and emotional energy, recover faster from illness, attain mental clarity, self-confidence, feel more at pace with themselves, and happier in the relationships. Even better, as a chronic Lyme disease survivor who healed in record time, Catherine has developed a unique expertise to help Lyme disease sufferers regain their health and life without losing their time or money. Catherine, how you doing? Welcome to the Holistic Nootropics Podcast.
Thank you so much. Doing awesome.
Yes. Great. So we're going to jump right into the podcast. But first, just want to give a quick reminder to all those listening and watching. Maybe it's your first time, you're new here. Remember to subscribe to the Holistic Nootropics Podcast on whatever podcast platform you are listening in. If you are watching this on YouTube, then hit that big red subscribe button right down below the video and hit that little bell icon so you can stay up to date and get notified every single time new videos and new podcasts drop. And if you are someone who's interested in getting the best quality supplements and nootropics on the market today, then head on over to holisticnootropics.com and download a copy of my free supplement buying guide. This is a fully comprehensive guide that I have created to help those of you out there looking for the best quality products on the market today. Because as you probably know, Catherine, there are a lot of just really bad supplement products on the market. I mean, the supplement industry, it's like $100 billion industry. Most of it's trash. I would even venture to say most regular people probably know somebody or are in some way connected to somebody who started a supplement company and is just selling garbage products because they're so easy to make. They're so easy to sell, especially with Amazon. And the worst part is these supplements, these products, they're filled with all kinds of fillers and preservatives because it costs less money to churn out bad products that don't really do much for your health. If you're someone who's going to Walmart and buying supplements, if you're buying supplements even on Amazon, you got to know how to find the best quality stuff out there. So head on over to my website, holisticnootropics.com, get that guide. You boost your body, boost your brain, boost your health, and of course, boost your life. All right, Catherine, yes, let's talk about you. I'm so excited. You are a transformational health life coach. You have a very interesting story. This whole thing of energy leaks, it's so interesting to me because I can visualize it, but I would love you to explain how you got into this line of work. Like in your own personal experience, what brought you to being so interested in helping people with their energy levels?
Yes. Such a great question. And thank you so much for having me, Eric, on this podcast. I come from the medical world. I used to be a nurse practitioner, and my, formative years were in ER in Montreal. And so whenever somebody would come in the trauma room with an artery that's piss and blood, that's the first thing we want to plug, right? So I've always been someone who's very energetic, active. I'm a hang glider pilot. I bike and kayak and ski and just you name it, the things that I do. And I became a nurse practitioner and thinking that I was going to help people attain better health and really bring a more holistic type of service, of health service. And I noticed that my energy started to go way down, like way down. And I was like, whoa, what's going on? And that was a whole quest on itself, but it took me 8 months to figure out it was Lyme disease. And not only it was that disease, but it was an acute flare of a chronic Lyme that I had acquired 16 years earlier. So it's a whole journey that, I talk about on my website if any of your listeners are interested. But when I was really at the lowest of the lowest with no energy, not even to hold my own hair blower, because my arms were just spent. I'd spent 5 minutes on a stationary bike and I'd have to go, sleep for 2 hours. It was that bad. That's when I noticed how important having energy is, because when you have no energy, it's impossible to do anything, accomplish anything, in your daily life, whether it's a laundry or making yourself some meals. It's very hard to be motivated to do anything when you have no energy. And when I started to heal from Lyme in ways that are unheard of, really, for someone with chronic Lyme. I mean, I'm on a lot of different forums on, Lyme forums on social media. And I've seen people for years stuck in the same place. And yet for me, I've just had this quantum healing. And I thought to myself, what is it that I've been doing that has given me back all of this energy? And this is where I was thinking about how important energy is. So just for the record, quickly, you were talking about supplements. A lot of supplements are junk. With Lyme, I built a protocol that is based of medicinal plants, natural supplements, but all of them that have research on it, that have evidence behind it. Because it's rare to find supplements. I mean, to find supplements that have research behind it. And so I built this protocol based on what I was reading and the Lyme experts and all that. And I did a lot of emotional healing, a lot of emotional alchemy that I call now. And together, these two things paired up really, really propelled my energy forward. So when I was starting to feel better and I was back on my bike, I was like, coaching people and helping people regain, not necessarily with Lyme disease, but all walks of life, regain energy and confidence and mental clarity. And I was like, what is it that I do with energy? And it came to me in the form of a mathematical equation. So energy, because I'm a scientist and I'm a spiritual. So the scientist part of me wanted that equation. So energy is really a result of how you generate energy, meaning how you eat, how you sleep, your exercise, the supplements you take to help you optimize, your life, your organs, whatever. So how you generate energy plus how you invest that energy strategically in ways that you have a bigger return on energy than what you invested. It's just like money, and the prime example I have of that is you go to have a coffee with a friend, let's say you're feeling low energy, and just the conversation is so enlightening and live, you come out of there and you're feeling super alive. So those two are the pluses, and then you divide that by the energy leaks. And that's where my specialty lies, because I can see them, I can feel them, and I can hear them. I can see them in the person's physiology, I can hear them in their language, and I can feel them in their vibe. You can tell when someone has a low energy vibe or high energy vibe. So it's more subtle and more complicated than that. But examples of energy leaks are a lot of them are in the subconscious mind or in the emotional. It's comparing yourself to other people and feeling less than, or feeling not good enough, not doing a good enough job, not being a good mom or dad, whatever. It's perfectionism. It's never good enough. It's saying yes to circumstances or people, but in your heart, it's said no, but you've been kind of walking all over yourself and forcing yourself to do something you don't want to do. It's all those shoulds. Oh, I should be doing this, or I should have known better. I call that shoulding all over yourself, Mm-hmm. So these things, big emotions, heavy emotions like anger, shame, guilt, sadness, fear. These are all things that will they accompany you on a daily basis, and they just leak your energy. Mm-hmm. They leak your energy in ways that before you become aware of them, you're like, why the hell am I so tired from, this job? And this happened to me when I realized that I was no longer feeling aligned with the medical paradigm. And yet the more I try to force myself to go to my nurse practitioner job, the more, I was diving into the illness of Lyme disease and the less energy I had. And when I decided to quit my job after 4 months of arguing with my inner voice, it's like I did this quantum jump of healing. Literally, it's like, whoa. All of a sudden, it's like I let go of a big bag of big rocks that I was carrying of I should be successful at this, or trying to live the life that my parents wanted me to. They wanted me to be a doctor. I mean, I got that as close as I could to be a doctor, but it was not my dreams and aspirations in that structure. And so when I quit that job, I regained so much energy, and I had quantum leaps in healing, that this is where I got the aha moment of, oh, anytime we're not in alignment with who we are, with our values, with our authentic self, it's a huge energy drain. You know, wearing a mask of like, oh yeah, everything is okay, but inside you're feeling like you're going to die, or your world is collapsing, or you're thoroughly unhappy. So it takes a lot of energy to manage that. Or a bigger one is internal conflict. A part of me wants this, but a part of me wants that. And then you're being pulled like this, like Mel Gibson and Braveheart, you know? And that's a huge energy leak. So anyways, those are examples of energy leaks and how that can subtly occur in people's lives.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that concept, because the visual of it is so prescient. You know, it's so relatable. Like, we all know that feeling of, it's not even that you're low energy. It's just, you feel drained. You feel like there's like a leak in you. And it's just, you feel at one point like you have that energy. And then throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month, for many people over the course of years, you just feel that just get gassed out of you. Yeah. And you get to a point then where you're just exhausted. And I've certainly felt that, you know, with the Lyme. I'm curious, did you actually have a Lyme diagnosis? As in you got diagnosed with it? Because I know those diagnoses are kind of hard to get. Yeah. Was it due to a tick bite, or was it something else?
No, you're right. The diagnosis is hard to get, mainly because the tests are not, they're not as sensitive as we would like them to be. But no, I got the blood test, which came out positive. I had to test outside of Canada, because in Canada I was negative. The way the tests are made in Canada, we miss about 80% of the diagnoses. And it took me 8 months, because I had no idea what was going on. I mean, it was multiple symptoms like shutting down all of a sudden. And then the more research I did, the more I recognized, wow, this is Lyme disease transmitted by a tick. And I remembered being bitten by ticks in 2009 in Georgia. But the first one was in 2000 when I was traveling in Australia. I was not even a nurse back then. I was just backpacking, you know, the school of life. And I had something here that didn't go away. And the next thing I knew, I just saw the legs go like this. I went, ah! Wow. And the head stayed stuck in there. And I had the big rash. I had all the primary signs and symptoms of the initial infection. Like, in hindsight, I remember feeling sick. I had a food intoxication. And it was quite serendipitous that a few weeks after that bite, I went to Thailand. And I took the preventative medicine for malaria, which is doxycycline. It's once a day, but it's the treatment for active Lyme twice a day. So it's like I got half treated, and it put the disease dormant in my body for 16 years. In hindsight, I've had low-level symptoms coming out throughout my 20s and 30s. And at 36, it just exploded. And yeah.
And I know I've talked to some people. I'll admit I don't know much about Lyme, but in the like circles of naturopathic doctors and functional medicine doctors and, you know, health coaches and stuff that I kind of hang in, the topic comes up a lot. And it just feels so overwhelming to me that I just am like, I'll get to that someday. But I do know it's interesting, you know, being in the nootropic space too, in the biohacking space. And people are always trying to get like, what is that supplement that does this? You know, I need something that's like, man, I just feel drained. What's the supplement for that? Man, has anybody got a nootropic for just like constant brain fog? You know, what about like this? I kind of hang on this line of like brain fog and depression. Like, what is that supplement? And how many of these people are probably dealing with Lyme? It just was never diagnosed.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is, there's so many people walking around with that illness. undiagnosed, and they go from one doctor to the next. What I tell people is, when you have symptoms in all different kinds of systems in your body, your eyes are going weird, your digestion is off, you got pains here and there, you got chills and sweats and headaches, whatever. Mm-hmm. You've seen many doctors, you've tried different treatments, and now the next thing the doctor wants to prescribe is a antidepressant or something for anxiety. That's a clinical picture of Lyme disease. And you're right, people, they will want the supplement for the thing. And what I tell people is, especially for Lyme, it's not the one magical thing, it's a synergy of things, and I use a lot of different supplements in the protocol that I teach for Lyme, but different medicinal plants and different things that have research on it, but it's not one thing that will, take care of the whole. It's really a multifaceted approach.
Yeah. And I know I've had this doctor on, her name is Jill Krista, and she's a mold expert. And she got into mold because as a naturopath, she was actually working with a lot of people who had Lyme. And she started to find this connection between mold and Lyme. And she basically was able to help all of her Lyme patients by addressing the mold situation. Yeah. So I know that's one route. And even if you don't have Lyme, like the mold, talk about like an energy drain, the mold can just wipe you out. And most people don't even know that it's a problem in their life, especially, if they're living in like a moldy house, if they've got mold. It's just crazy. Like once your reticular activation goes to mold and you just are on the lookout for mold all the time, like it just pops up everywhere. And I know you're in Florida right now, so there's probably a lot of it where you are. I'm in Puerto Rico. And I mean, you'll just put like we have in our closet, like my wife has like some clothes and they're just all moldy all of a sudden, it's like mold just grows within a day. And it's crazy. And then you eat it too. Like people, if you drink beer, if you eat cheese, like fermented products are notorious for mold. So this is a thing that now, again, being in these functional medicine circles, I hear it all the time. But it still has not popped mainstream. And again, it goes back to, a regular doctor doesn't know what to do with it. A regular doctor goes, oh, it's depression, push on antidepressant. And it breaks my heart every time. Like, not to say that, hey, don't take antidepressants. Like everybody has their thing. But when you see a functional medicine doctor, you talk to someone like yourself who is well-trained with this and you go, look, this depression, this brain fog, this chronic pain you're dealing with, of course, there are many aspects to it that are emotional. And if you need an antidepressant to get you over that or anti-anxiety medication to get you over that, by all means, but let's get to the root of this because there is definitely a root. And for most people, if you just look at the sheer numbers, like most people, it's something Lyme related, mold related, diet related, that can be addressed. And it might not might not cure the situation, but it will certainly make a nice dent.
For sure. Even fibromyalgia, not that long ago was not recognized as a diagnosis. I remember being in nursing school in 2002, and a lady came to talk to us about the fibromyalgia, how finally it was recognized as a diagnosis, so she could get some disability or, some form of compensation, but we still don't know the etiology, the source of it. And there are many hypotheses right now that are saying that fibromyalgia might be some untreated Lyme disease. Mm-hmm. So it's just another avenue to test for. And COVID, people with long COVID, it has been very early on in the pandemic, it has been compared to chronic Lyme just because of the overlapping of symptoms, how, the brain fog and the fatigue and muscle aches and things like that. So medicine in general has been a paradigm for acute care and for surgeries, but has done very poorly for chronic diseases, degenerative diseases, psychosomatic illnesses, because it's not the right paradigm. All of these diseases that they don't threaten your life, but they sure ruin your quality of life. The answers right now are not in the conventional medicine world. So, and this is, I mean, I was a prescriber of antibiotics and I never took any antibiotics for Lyme because I just knew how it would wreck my gut. And I was like, I'm not going to, shoot myself in the foot by eradicating 70% of my immune system by killing my gut bacteria. So, yeah.
Oh my God. It's a constant theme that comes up on this podcast in my research in mental health and gut. It's just antibiotics. And it's just so crazy. I've said this on this podcast so many times, but I have to repeat it, which is if you go to the CDC's website, they tell you right there, over 70% of the antibiotics that are prescribed are totally inappropriate. And the CDC is not in the business of trying to get you to take less medication, right?
No,
we all know that. So
No.
when they come out and say, hey, can you just stop it with the antibiotics? You know, and it's like no doctors listen to that. It's like I got strung out on antibiotics when I was in high school, and it ruined me. I didn't realize how much it ruined me until I was in my 20s, and then I had some health issues pop up. And this is a thing I look at all the time with so many people. Again, whether it's emotional, physical, typically the two go together, who are just dealing with chronic illness, which is what is your history of antibiotics? Because chances are, if you're dealing with some kind of bacterial infection, you probably have an issue with antibiotics. And that's not your answer because you've wiped out all your gut bacteria. And I'm not, of course, it's like, yeah, we're all going to listen to our doctor and they say take antibiotics. They have no freaking answer other than, okay, this is insanity, right? So my wife was pregnant and, first pregnancy or whatever. And maybe this is TMI, but she had a UTI, right? And so UTIs during pregnancy are they're a pretty big deal, because it's like the baby can get it on the way out, and you can have all kinds of problems with that, right? So the doctor, I mean, they will scare you into thinking like this is going to happen. Your baby's going to get this, and then the baby's going to die on the delivery table. So like as a new parent, you're thinking like, oh my God, what do I do? He says, well, all you got to do is take these antibiotics. And he gives us a prescription for antibiotics, and it tells you right on the freaking, I think it's the CDC's website, this has a high rate of prenatal baby death. Like fatality is like it's a huge side effect with this, right?
Yeah.
Like, why would you prescribe this, dude? And it's like, oh well, I'll tell you what, take this other one instead. And that one also has a high side effect of baby death. And the amount of women. And if it's not baby death, it's birth. Birth complications, right?
Yes.
Or like you can get physical deformities. Like how many kids are dealing with these chronic illnesses, are having, how many moms have these issues with delivery? Like there's so many issues that come in when a baby is delivered that you can't account for other than, well, did you take antibiotics or not? And you never want to say that to somebody like a mother who just delivered a baby, because you can't you don't want to victim shame or anything like that.
No.
But at the same time, it's like, well, this is the truth of the matter. And fortunately, we were able to find ways to not take antibiotics. I say she did. I just kind of said, go, yeah. But it's just crazy how it's like they just throw these antibiotics around like candy. And then here we are in this world where so many people are dealing with, come back to you, these energy leaks, right? You just wrecked your whole gut bacteria, and now you've got chronic infections. You're sick all the time because you have no immune system. Your immune system is gone. And now you're talking about long COVID. And it's like, yeah, how many people antibiotic themselves over the last 10, 15, 20 years? And now the Super Bowl of viruses hits, and your body's like, well, I don't know. We don't got no reinforcements here. You wiped us all out, man. And then what did they say at the beginning of the pandemic? I had COVID, and the doctor said, take some antibiotics. I'm like, this is a virus, dude. Yeah. This is a virus. Like, do you understand? Isn't there a difference here in microbiology between the virus and the bacteria?
Yes.
They are two completely different things. It's like, hey man, hey, I broke my arm. You know what you need? You need to cut off the other arm, because that's going to help. You need to saw that thing. If you want to make this one heal, take the other one off. It's getting in the way. It's like these, it's crazy. Like, sorry, I'm off on some crazy tangent, but I like these.
I hear you.
As soon as you said antibiotics, it triggers. I'm triggered. I'm a millennial. I'm triggered.
I see that.
It just triggers this thing in me where I go crazy, because this is like, and then you're talking about antibiotic resistant bacteria. I was going to make a whole point with the antibiotic thing, but either way, yes. How many people are walking around with chronic fatigue, chronic autoimmunity, chronic disease, because at some point they were told to take antibiotics? It drives me up the wall.
Yeah, and it's true. I mean, sometimes they are required life-threatening situations. But I remember when I left my nurse practitioner practice and I was going to refer all of my patients to my colleagues, I went through their whole files. I mean, their history, if they were born by C-section or vaginally, which makes a huge difference. When babies are born by C-sections, they don't get the good bacteria from the birth canal, and it affects their immune system in the long run. So I could see it under my eyes. It's like I did an empiric research of the babies that were born by C-sections had a lot of otitis, ear infections. Mm-hmm. And they were having issues, even in adulthood, ADHD, anxiety, depression, high blood pressure. I was like, wow, okay. Wow. It was just this really interesting kind of data that was going, right on in front of my eyes. And because they didn't have the good bacteria, they were more prone to infections. They had more ear infections. They had more antibiotics, and then it affected their life and their health in the long run. And their mental health also. So I'm not saying there's a cause to effect there, but it was like under my eyes right there going, whoa, that's empirical and kind of synchronicity. It was
I'm curious, with this energy thing too. Because it's such a deep rabbit hole of possibilities, but how much of it is hormonal? Like men, testosterone, women, estrogen. It's like, I'm 40. I'm not on any testosterone. I've never taken steroids, but I know there's dudes who have. I know there's, when guys start to hit 50, that's when you start thinking about, the testosterone replacement therapy. They have the bioidentical hormones for women. And it's kind of like when you talk to women who take the bioidentical hormone, they go, oh my God, I just feel like myself again. Like I feel like I got my life back, because they were just in such this energy drain. And I wonder how much of these energy issues kind of go down to hormones. And then, then you start going down that rabbit hole and you say, well, what would disrupt your hormonal production? Well, age, of course, but even more than that, environmental toxins, right? Yes. Endocrine disrupting hormones.
Exactly.
Just the freaking amount of plastic that is in our lives that is just wrecking people. The mold, the stuff they put in foods, all the preservatives. Started the podcast talking about, they put like food colorings in supplements. They put corn oil in supplements, trans fats, all these things like mess with your endocrine system is so delicate. And the second your nervous system starts going crazy, your endocrine organs start, they stop producing at optimal rates. Your adrenal glands start going crazy. Cortisol gets pumped. Cortisol shuts down all of your sex hormone production, DHEA, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone. It's all pregnenolone. It's all gone, right? So what does that transpire as? These people, they're not having an emergency every day, but they're chronically stressed out. Like you were saying, when you quit your nurse practitioner job, so many people have jobs like that where it just physically drains them. And so, we talk about cortisol and stress a lot, but I don't think we're really talking about it in the sense that, like, when we're talking about chronic cortisol and chronic norepinephrine, you're talking about just waking up and your day, it's just hijacked from the very beginning. Yeah. And then on top of that, it's like, well, when you start your day off with several cups of coffee, a sugary, a high carbohydrate breakfast, some kind of soda or something, and you just tank your blood sugar, you're talking about an endocrine, just complete disaster, right? So then your hormones are going to be messed up. So then you're going to feel naturally drained. So I'm curious, how you approach that issue of hormones, if this is a thing you see. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that it's multifactorial again, that we know we live in one of the most toxic environment that human beings has ever lived in. And you've named a few contaminants. Heavy metals is also one of them, which is why having a comprehensive evaluation is important. in the physical body for causes of hormonal disruption and fatigue, and having a comprehensive evaluation for chronic stress, because even low to mid stress that's experienced chronically has a huge impact on your hormonal system. You were talking about the HPA axis there. Adrenal fatigue is a very, very common cause of people being just tired, wiped out, brain fogged. When I found out I had Lyme disease, I did this test for cortisol, and there's 4 stages of adrenal fatigue. And I was in stage 4, flat batteries. And the functional medicine practitioner I was working with at the time, she was like, I don't know how you can keep working. I said, I don't know. I'm feeling wiped out. But evaluating for those sources of chronic stress, of performance, of I'm not doing enough, of what are they going to think about me, it's as important to evaluate in the emotional realm as it is in the physical realm, because it all has a huge impact. And we know this from, quantum physics and neurosciences. We know how neurons that fire together wire together. So if you're having chronic negative thoughts every day, which 95% of our thoughts are subconscious, and 90% of our thoughts are recurrent every day, and 70% of our thoughts are negative every day. So as you're strengthening this network of connectivity with negative thoughts in your brain is constantly sending out peptides, neuropeptides of heaviness, of watch out for, being scammed by this person. Oh, your boss is not happy. You're not doing enough. You're not enough. And then your brain is constantly sending those neural messages, neurotransmitters, and it's constantly firing off your adrenals, your cortisol. And the body doesn't make the difference between when your life is on the line because a lion is chasing you versus creating that internal stress. It'll fire off the alarm and get all the hormonal juices out to go fight, or fight or flight, or freeze. But definitely physical and emotional is equally important to consider. And, in conventional medicine, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, but it's just the structure is not made to be able to evaluate in such a holistic manner. The tools are not there, right? And I say fortunately because, there are many what's called complementary or alternative functional medicine, mind-body medicine, energy medicine practitioners, whatever resonates with the person really, I find is a good modality for them. But to make sure you have like a full comprehensive, I like to leave no stone unturned, kind of, in just considering what could be what. And you go like on a quest of being a detective of, what's causing this? And, is this a factor in this? And then finding out stuff. For me, my specialty is especially around the subconscious limiting beliefs and the self-critical, thoughts that people are not aware of until they become aware, and then they decide to change that. So that's another story.
Yeah, that's like people really undersell their ability to control their mind. And it took me a while because I was one of those people too that was just so easy for me to go down the negative road. And I'm still very guilty of that, but I've gotten a lot better. It's something I have to like consciously practice. And that's, I think, just kind of true for everybody. It's, sometimes people look at other people and they get so envious and they go, well, that person just seems like they got it all together. That person just seems like they're so happy. Like, why can't I be that? And there's 2 things wrong with that. Number one, you don't know that person. You don't know like what they are really dealing with. You don't know why they feel like that. And maybe they're just putting it on for you. Maybe maybe they're dying inside. Maybe they're just so torn up inside, but they're like, I just have to put this on the outside so people get that. But at the same time, like, you should never compare yourself to other people. You should always just say, energy leak. It's a huge energy leak. And again, this is like one of my biggest things that over the course of like my life that I've been so guilty of that I have to consciously work on. It's like every time I think I have it together, I flick on, I see somebody else and I go, oh, look at them doing great, and there's no reason why it should make me feel bad. Like somebody in the world is doing great. I should be happy for that. I should celebrate that. And if anything, I should model that. I should go, thank you for showing me how to do it. Thank you for laying the path,
And
but
not only, yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
And not only that, the fact that they are close to you, since we're all in the unified quantum field, we're all in this field of energy. When something desirable is close to you, well, that's a sign that it's close to coming into your life. So I love what you're saying about celebrating it and being grateful for the model of possibility of, oh, this is possible, and I can't wait for this to happen for me as well. And sending all the good and the blessing to the people that have already reached that level, which I think is a much more up-leveled vibration to attract. So if we talk about, the law of attraction is to spirituality what the quantum physics is to science. It's the same. They just have a different language, right? So in the quantum physics, you have the quantum field, which is infinite possibilities. It's like going to the buffet of all the things that you could ever think of eating. It's all there. And then it takes the observer to observe something in the field of possibility to collapse that field into the matter, into what we see, what's manifested in our physical world, what's manifested in our body. The problem is most of us go to that buffet with either our eyes closed and we hope we're going to put in our plate something we love, or we think that we should be eating those things that we don't like, or we keep putting the rotten tomato in there because we don't think we deserve better, right? And this stems from beliefs that we hold about ourselves. And this is a chronic energy leak also, until you become aware of those beliefs, until you identify what is it that's leaking your energy. Oftentimes I tell people, pay attention to how you feel in different circumstances around different people. Pay attention when you're feeling like, wow, energized and alive versus kind of, drained and exhausted. This is a cue that kind of person is, I wouldn't say good or bad for you, but this is your kind of people and this is not, and you don't have to force yourself to like a certain kind of people or to be liked by them just because you should, or of other kind of decisions that has been made. So paying attention to our energy and where do you feel those energy leaks? Most people will feel it in the gut. Some people will feel it in their head. For me, the energy leak will be subtly in the gut. But when I'm in front of something that really triggers, a limiting belief or something that I really don't feel good about myself, it's like I have a tap at the bottom of my spine and it just opens. And if you imagine my body being a tank of water and it just go, and I literally feel like my legs are going to let go underneath me. I mean, it's been a long time. It hasn't happened like that, but those were major energy leaks for me, such as, having a boss back in nursing time who was trying to control everything I was doing, even though she was not in the rank to do that, and it was every time she was around, it was like, oh, this just massive drop would happen. So paying attention, awareness is the first step to any process of healing. It really is awareness. And then you do some form of transformation. You decide to do different. You face your own fears. You face your own limiting beliefs. And that brings you back to wholeness, which is ultimately what we all want. It's being whole, holding our energy in our body, feeling at peace in our mind, and creating a life that we love, because we all deserve to have a life that we love. So,
yeah, awareness it's so key. Awareness, compassion, gratitude. I look at it like it took me a while to get to this point to say, okay, like I don't have to live at this low level, and it's not as easy as just going, oh, hey, pick yourself up by the bootstraps, or just saying, hey, you know, put a smile on your face, everything's gonna be okay, right? It takes practice. That's why they call like meditation a practice. That's why they call medicine a practice, because you have to constantly practice these things. Yoga is a practice. I mean, I learned more about life through yoga than anything else. I wish I had more time to do it. And of course, there's like the thing with yoga, it's like if you don't have enough time to do yoga, that means you need to make more time for yoga or something like that. But it's because like I would take these classes with very deep spiritual, you know, yoga people, right? And they would drop these little lines on you and you'd be like, oh yeah, you know, like where you're trying to hit these poses, you know, that make you think deeper about life. And one thing I always took from yoga that's been so crucial for me, compassion is one, because when you feel compassion, it's hard to feel bad for yourself. Like when you feel compassion for other people, and every time I catch myself thinking negatively about someone, I go, you know what? Like they're going through it. Like have some compassion for that person. And it just instantly rewires my whole thing. Right. Or gratitude. It's like the second you start thinking bad, it's like, oh, I'm grateful for this. I used to do gratitude journals every single day. I mean, for years I was doing just whatever. It was part of my daily thing. 10 things I'm grateful for. And I would make sure I'd write down the things that were just bad in my life. I'd go, I'm so grateful that I failed at that thing. Or I'm so grateful that, you know, in Puerto Rico, like I'm so grateful the power went out today because, you know, now I get to like, whatever, right? You start thinking like that. And then it just becomes hard. It becomes hard to have what you would call like an energy leak. And then the other thing is breathing. And I've shared this on this podcast a few times, you know, in some previous podcasts, but like this idea when you start to feel anxious, when you start to feel worried, when you start to feel down, if you're tuned in, if you're, like you said, aware, you'll start to feel your breath just almost like a mini hyperventilation. You know, you're breathing faster, your mouth breathing, your inhales are shallow, your exhales are shallow. And the ultimate way to actually turn on your parasympathetic nervous system through your vagus nerve is to, you know, inhale, but then exhale longer, right? Like a nice deep inhale, and you can even hold it and then exhale longer. And that actually physically turns on your vagus nerve, which turns on your parasympathetic, and you will physiologically come out of that fight or flight response into the parasympathetic. And it's amazing when I built that awareness, those times where I started to feel panicked, I'd go, oh, listen, like my breath, it's a little out of control. Like calm the breath, dial the breath in. And you get it. You're instantly like dialed in. And now you're thinking from a place of power. Now you're not thinking from a place of weakness. You're not thinking of pain. You're thinking of strength. You're not even thinking. You're in that part of your brain that you just know the answers, that you have the calm. And when you teach yourself to live from that, in my opinion, you start to fill those leaks. You start to build your energy. And it's not going to happen today. It's a practice. You have to just consciously do it over and over. But when you do it and you start to realize it, at least in my experience, and for those close to me, that's been the biggest help.
Yeah, the breath is what connects the body and the mind, and it's the gateway to the subconscious, on top of being the activator for the parasympathetic system. Becoming aware of that breathing pattern is so fantastic. In fact, I just finished one of my classes in my PhD in natural medicine and energy medicine. It was called Holistic Anatomy. And it's the different anatomies, you know, you got the physical body, the vital body, the mental body, the supramental, and the bliss body. And the breath is just everywhere, linking all of these bodies together. And one of the things that I really retained from that is brain coherence and heart coherence is two things that are so important for your health, for your energy, your vitality, your longevity. And yet it is obtained through the breath. So I love what you're talking about with the breath. And it's definitely something that I've been more aware of and practicing. And really, who can argue with 5 minutes a day of doing some deep breathing to just reset your whole biofield, your whole energy? It's like not even 5 minutes. It takes 2 minutes to switch from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic. It's about 10 deep breaths, where your exhale is a little bit longer than the inhale. So it's powerful.
Yeah. So let's talk about your programs. You were talking about how you have different programs you use to help people heal these energy leaks, to get back on track. You're talking about supplements specifically. What are some of these programs? What's the nutrition? What's the supplements? How does that all work?
It depends on their needs. I do help people with Lyme disease, so their program is going to be more with the protocol, nutrition, and the mind-body coaching, the alchemy, the emotional alchemy. I do have a lot of people coming to me for, they're tired, they're feeling out of alignment, out of coherence with themselves, they're feeling stuck in their life. So there's a lot of life coaching that happens, a lot of emotional alchemy. I'll look at their nutrition and definitely correct if there's something that's out of balance, because it's interesting that sometimes a little change in their nutrition will make the whole world of difference. Oftentimes, people with depression or anxiety, just adjusting something in their breakfast will give a whole different tone to their day. If they need a little bit more protein, a little bit more fats, less carbs, definitely less sugar. Everybody can benefit from less sugar in their life. But the biggest part of the transformational work is what I'll call the emotional alchemy. And it's coming from the angle of neuro-linguistic programming, transformational coaching method, and quantum physics together. That makes this emotional alchemy. So basically we take the heavy emotions, the heavy subconscious beliefs, and we alchemize them into something that is much lighter. What I hear my clients say a lot of the times when they finish the session, they're like, wow, I feel so much lighter. It's like we've taken off 10,000 pounds off my shoulders, because we've alchemized these things into something that's much more light. It's like the gold is their treasure, but it becomes the asset that propels them forward. It becomes their leverage. Instead of pulling them back, it's propelling them forward. So, yeah. So I alwait's personalize, the programs according to what the person needs. And the first gateway is through a discovery session. So it's a pretty comprehensive session. It lasts about 90 minutes. And we uncover what has been stopping the person or holding them back from, having more energy or whatever they want to achieve in their life. And we really uncover the subconscious mindset and habits and whatever subconscious blockages that are there that they couldn't see or they didn't know was there. And then we create a powerful vision for what their life looks like, their desired life looks like. And this is where the gold is. Really, most people are good at knowing what they no longer want, what they're tired of. But if you ask them what they actually want, they have more difficulty doing that. So creating that vision, it's like we're punching your GPS coordinates and it's like, oh, now it's clear. That's the direction where I'm going. And then we create a step-by-step plan to move them forward. So that's all happening in the discovery session. And we can put the link if people want to book that in the show notes. It's a journey of awakening, but it's a journey of transition. And life transitions are everywhere. You just became a father not that long ago, right? So that's quite a bit of a life transition. I'm working with some clients who are going through divorce and they want to transition in ways that are more optimal. I'm working with clients who are grieving the loss of their parents. Working with clients who are transitioning out of an illness back into health, because that's a transition. So any sort of time that people are feeling stuck in their life, in their health, in their relationship, there's a life transition that's calling them to become better. And it's calling them to let go, let the old self die. It's experiencing a little death to make space to, the 2.0 version of them, the best version of them, basically. So in a nutshell.
Yeah. I love it. This is a thing. It's like that. I think so many people need because, I love the idea that it's like you can be an athlete, but you're never going to be the best athlete you can be unless you have a good coach. Exactly. And nowadays, like coaches, there's so many coaches for so many different things. But you have a specificity. And I think your background in being a nurse practitioner, helps really plug that hole, so to speak, of the physiological issue where it's like, if somebody brought their blood work to you, you probably understand it. These basics of anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, you understand bacteria and viruses, you understand Lyme, you understand, chronic fatigue, these autoimmune disorders, people have. So, and I think coming from like my end of like the kind of nootropics biohacker space, this discussion is never happens, right? Like the discussion is just like, what do I take for this? Oh, look at this cool thing I got. Look at this cool gadget I got. Look at this biohacking device. Look at this red light. Look at this, whatever it is, right? Look at this fancy nootropic, this Rastam, whatever, right? But it's like I just said, if you have a broken arm, the solution isn't to break your arm again. The solution is to not do the thing you did that broke your arm. And what people have when they're taking so many nootropics is they have something that broke their arm and they need to address that. And that's the hard work. The nootropic is great because the nootropic will help you feel better. Well, it's like a crutch, but you shouldn't be taking a nootropic for a long term. That means you haven't gotten to the root cause. And what someone like you is doing is you're helping that person get to the root cause, and you're going to make miles in your of strides when you address the root cause of these problems. And for so many people, it goes beyond the biochemistry. It's not metaphysical, but it is in the spiritual. It is in like just getting your focus right in your mind to be able to put the images that are right into your head so that the rest of your body can follow. And I think that's powerful. I think the law of attraction is powerful. I believe in it fully. It's manifested things in my life. I've seen it manifest things in other people's lives. So, a lot of people poo-poo that idea, there's like the secret, and they go, oh, the secret was bullshit. And it's like, well, some of it was, yeah, definitely. But if you understand the general idea of what they're talking about, which is you reap what you sow, you reap the things you think about. If your mind is constantly in this negative vibration, you're going to live a pretty negative life. But the second that you really intentionally go to that higher vibration, and it's not just as simple as going today, I'm going to think better. And it happens. Yeah. Maybe for some people it is, but for most people, they need to really get to the heart of what is not allowing them to get there. And, it sounds like what you're doing is one of those ways to do that. So keep doing it. You're doing great.
Thank you. I am. And for those people who are poo-pooing the secret, maybe they need to look in the quantum physics. And for those people who find that quantum physics are too complicated, then they can look into the law of attraction, because ultimately it's the same. It's just using different words. And one of the people that I love the most following is Joe Dispenza. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you know him. Yeah. And to create a future, the best way to create the future is from the unknown, is what he says. And he says, when you combine a clear intention with an elevated emotion, that's where you collapse the quantum field into matter. And it takes 68 seconds to collapse the quantum field into matter. 68 seconds. That's not long. It's just over a minute of focusing your thoughts and having the emotion in the direction of what you want, instead of observing what's not working in your life and going like, oh, I've got this, I've got pain. It's like, okay, use that as a compass to say, what do you want to have? What experience do you want instead? It's like a 180-degree shift. It's like, wow, I can't wait to have this pain-free body, this energy. I'm already feeling the vitality coming back to my energy, and saying those things with the emotion of that energy and that vitality. Maybe it requires you to go back into a moment when you were feeling that way. But if you hold it for 68 seconds, and I like to go on this kind of rampage of oh, I love how I'm feeling so vital in my body. I'm feeling strong. My muscles are working. My cells are all, clean. They're working. And I just go on and on and on and on. And it's just, that's how I healed from Lyme disease.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's the truth. You're speaking the truth. And I love it. I love it. It's everything is energy at the end of the day. You don't believe it? Electrons, protons, neutrons. It's the heart of every atom, of every cell, of everything happening in the world right now. So keep doing what you're doing, Catherine. I love it. It's great.
Thank you.
Where can somebody go find you? Where can they book a discovery call with you? Where can they read your work, learn more about you, maybe watch videos if you're talking about this stuff? Where's a good place to go?
Yeah, so I've got many videos on my social media on Facebook and Instagram. So it's Catherine Gagnon, Transformational Coach. I'm also on LinkedIn, and my website is catherinegagnon.ca. So I'm going to spell that because it's a French, Catherine. So it's www.catherinegagnon.ca. And then we can put in the show notes the link for the Calendly, where to book a discovery session, and people can go from there.
Sounds great. I'll put all that in the show notes, and I'll make sure that people listening know where to find you, and hopefully they do. You're doing great work.
Thank you so much, Eric. And you too. Keep doing your work.
Thank you so much. And listener and viewer, you're doing great work by watching and listening to this podcast. If you enjoy what you watch and listen to, head on over to Apple Podcasts. Leave the podcast a 5-star review. If you haven't done yet, make sure you subscribe. And for all things holistic nootropics, head on over to holisticnootropics.com. Until next time, everybody, be good out there. Take care of yourself, and peace.
Thanks for listening. For more brain-boosting info, in-depth articles, and show notes, check out holisticnootropics.com.